All right, back live with you tonight on In Focus. Thanks so much for staying on. ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji has dismissed claims that the newly elected top six are puppets of the Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. Malatji was elected unopposed on Saturday during the 26th Congress held at Nasrec in Johannesburg. Internal ANC politics have prevented the Young Lions from convening a conference since 2015, and now, finally, the president declaring on Sunday that they have now got their autonomy back. Well, others would say maybe not quite, but let's hear what Collen has got to say. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for the invite.
So there are some who are already saying, I mean, that statement that we are making there, that you were elected unopposed, is not quite right, because there are others who would have liked to challenge you, but they were not given the opportunity to do so. In fact, they are saying that they were just flat out blocked by the likes of Stella Ndabeni and Mdu Manana.
Look, a conference does not start at conference. There's a process of guidelines. PGMs have been convened. All over the country, PGMs were there. Yeah. Now, the first place of analyzing it, you check by nominations. I got over 1,900 nominations from branches of the ANC. Now, there was no Stella Ndabeni there or Mdu Manana in branches of PGMs of the ANC to nominate me to be president. Now, I think that is just dragging people's names into things that they are not even responsible for. I was the deputy coordinator of the ANC Youth League. I was part and parcel of those that were organizing the conference of the ANC Youth League. And I can tell you now, it's young people of the ANC organizing their own conference.
It seems, though, there is a sense that there are others who had taken a foregone conclusion that they want you to be president, and therefore they don't want anybody else to even come and muddy that space. And so they would have blocked them at every turn. And I'm talking about the folks now in the Eastern Cape in particular, who said they held their BGMs and they brought the audit. But even with all that, they were then later on their credentials revoked.
Look, there was one from the Eastern Cape who went through audit that has been blocked. I can tell you now for free, all branches of the Eastern Cape that went to PGMs have been audited. They have not been blocked, they've been allowed in. There was just one incident of the Eastern Cape delegation, some of them not registered for conference. You're not a delegate to conference if you're not registered. That's how it works. You need to go to registration point and go and represent yourself as an individual delegate. Now, a delegate is not a group. It's not a mob process. Individuals are elected in branches as delegates to represent the mandate of their own branches. Now, if you don't present yourself, then you can't form part of credentials of conference. Now, that's how it works in the ANC. But the ANC is a democratic organization in the Youth League. There is no one can be blocked to contest any position in the ANC. You come and contest positions. You are open to contest. The day the ANC blocks people, will stop being the ANC.
Yeah. So you are here putting your head on the block, and you're saying that this leadership that came out this weekend is a reflection of the will of the people.
No, it's true. It's a reflection of branches of the ANC Youth League. And this thing it's wrong to be presented as puppets when with a track record of what we've done in the movement. Some of us, I'm a former president of COSAS and I'm a former president of COSAS, former NEC member of SASCO. I'm the current president of the Youth League. We grew up in structures of the ANC. Now, the perception of trying to raise our credentials and reducing us to puppets of leadership is wrong, and I think it must be clarified. If you can check the profile of our officials, for example, yeah, who are young people who are highly active in all structures, who've been elected before in many other structures. Now, it's wrong. I heard some professor here yesterday lying that I don't have a post-matric qualification. You know, the people that you bring here, analysis, sometimes not even research. You bring lazy people here to speak lazy things. Yeah. For example, I'm a graduate of Wits University. There's evidence of that. I did some also certificates at the University of Johannesburg. I did some qualifications also at UJ. Now, I'm saying it will take only 2 minutes to research that to find out. Now, you must also guys vet who you bring here, because the police platforms can be abused for wrong things.
Yeah. Well, depending on who you're asking and who you're listening to, you seem to have struck a right or a wrong chord, especially in your address yesterday, your media conference, when you made comments around Julius Malema and how he was removed from the ANC. Do you see yourself as going toe-to-toe, head-to-head with Julius Malema?
I have no responsibility to speak about Julius or whatever happens. I was asked a question about the economic freedom resolution that I've taken, that there are people who were fired from the Youth League because of that. I was clarifying that there was no one was removed because of the program of action that the Youth League has taken. Now, I don't want to spend time. There are many formal days of the Youth League that came before this one and that one. Now, when I have to spend the whole day, there's Bolu Johnson, Kikaba, and many others. I don't know why the media wants to drive a narrative to drag us to Julius. There's no conversation between Julius and the ANC Youth League. Julius runs his own political party called the EFF, who are part of the league of the ANC. Now, we're contesting in the same terrain, the same spaces, we're mobilizing support. Where we agree on policies will align, because our objective is to resolve socio-economic challenges. Now, we're not enemies. Where we agree on policies, we'll call them, say, let's agree on this policy and see how we move forward. Now, the media must not create a narrative that there's a match of Julius or there's a competition between Julius and Collen. What do we have? Maybe we have the same credentials. He's a former president of COSAS, I'm a former president of COSAS. He's a former president of the Youth League. I'm a current president of the Youth League. Maybe that's what brings the narrative around that. But apart from that, there is no EFF versus the Youth League here. It's a narrative created that doesn't exist. We have our own program of action that we're pushing now, of making sure we resolve socio-economic challenges that are facing young people on a daily basis. We have no time to focus on other parties. We have more time to resolve problems of this country.
Yeah, but are you denying the fact that you would be contesting for the minds, at least, of the same age group?
Look, I don't know if the EFF as a party is a youth party, but ourselves as a Youth League, our constituents are young people. Obviously, we mobilize young people on our own ideas by resolving their own problems, because people associate themselves with organizations that resolve their problems. Now, no one joins an organization to speak about their issues. That's why we've always said that the economic freedom battle is not a battle of a political party. It's a battle addressed or resolved by young people to resolve high level of inequality of this country, to fight for the restructuring of the economy to benefit the majority.
Yeah, and it's that particular view that you're taking that is leading many to believe, well, it is not similar to what the economic freedom fighters are saying they are wanting to do. And therefore, they are pitting you against one another to say, are you not trying to get the attention of the same caliber of people?
Look, poverty in this country affects everyone. The high level of inequality in this country affects everyone. Now, there's no one who can say, when you speak the language to address those issues, we are competing. We're not competing. We're addressing a problem that is facing South Africans. Yeah.
But you say you are now 8 years later, because they're now 10 years ahead of you and occupied that space and actually gathered those numbers that otherwise, had you been around in that 8 years, you would have been able to gather.
You look, we're fixing that. We're going to build a momentum. We're going to mobilize young people. We're going to go to all sectors of young people in business, young people in churches, young people in sports and art and culture, young people in universities, to engage with them, to lobby them on our own program of action. Then they will associate themselves with the program of action they believe is implementable and is doable, can resolve all the problems that they're faced with.
Yeah, why would young people do that? Young people, they are staying away in their numbers. They're not even registering. The huge chunk that is supposed to be registering, that are able to vote, qualify, they're of the age to vote, they are not even bothering to do that.
Yeah, part of the reason they're not voting is because they don't believe that there's any political party that can address their own problems. That's why we're presenting solutions to them. Yeah. That's why we must go and engage them, mobilize them to come out and say that we want to restore hope, that the ANC Youth League is ready to restore hope to resolve all of these problems we're faced with. We'll have engagements with you so that we go back to the mainstream participation of politics, because we can't have them excluded on the politics of their own country. Young people must go out and vote for what they believe in, for the party of their choice. They must be able to mobilize and canvass to vote for that. Because the moment they do that, that's been reckless, because you're neglecting the most important.
You're talking as if the ANC Youth League is a completely different party. ANC Youth League is not a completely different party. It's the Youth League of the ANC. It's the same party that has been governing the country for the last 3 years.
With the responsibility to mobilize young people behind the banner of the ANC.
Why would young people want to mobilize behind the banner of the ANC when the ANC has been in power for 3 decades and they are the most unemployed in the country?
When we engage on the issue of the reindustrialization, it's because we want to create more opportunities for young people. Because when you revive the secondary industries, using your primary sector industries, mining and other issues, to revive those things, when you manage the exports and making sure that the mineral resources, at least 7% of them, remain in the country to assist to create employment for the youth, you'll be addressing all their problems.
So you are saying, as the ANC Youth League, you are going to be pushing for the nationalization of mines. Is that your program now?
Yes, we're going to be pushing very hard. We have not declared that program.
Yeah.
We're going to push the issue of the land, because when people don't have land, they don't have dignity. Now, to restore the dignity of our people, we must give them back their land. Those are our programs. We'll never neglect them. We're going to push the program of the reskilling of the youth. The youth skills must be in line with economic activities of their own country. Now, those are areas we'll be pushing in, because we are bringing solutions to problems that are facing South Africa.
Yeah. Why do you think you're going to achieve anything different? Ismail Khashwile was here the other day, and he said they were sitting around the table, UDM, EFF, the ANC, and he was there representing that delegation, and they were about to sign on this thing of expropriation of land without compensation. But it seems at that point of signing, there's an instruction that came from elsewhere, and they said, no, don't sign. And that's why that thing fell apart.
Well, that's not true. The ANC voted for that. The debate, the issue where there was difference with other parties is on how should it be done. It was not an issue. All parties agreed that the land must be given to the people. But the issue was on how it should be done. The ANC was saying that the land shall be taken to the people for agricultural use, for human settlement, and other economic activities. That's what the ANC is saying. Then the other political parties voted against. They were saying that the land must be controlled by the state.
Yes.
That is what the differences are.
And what is your position as the ANC?
Our position as the ANC is that the land shall be taken to the people.
So you are still not going to be in support of state-owned land?
Our program is to restore the dignity of our people.
Yeah.
The dignity of our people was stripped away when their land was repossessed from them.
Yeah. What about what you are seeing now as an outcome, for example, of something like LRAD, Land Distribution and Development Program, where others, they take the land, lie with it, tractors are broken, and then nothing is done on that piece of land. Others take it, they sell it, and just take the money, and they come and stay here in Joburg.
The ANC program is explained. It says that this land must be used for, there's land that's going to be zoned out for food security, there's land that's going to be zoned out for human settlement, there's no land. Now, if you don't use them for those things, you must take back the land and give it to those who are ready to use that land.
So you are saying that people with the land that is lying fallow, you want to take it from them?
Yes, you must take them and give it for use, for that use.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what about their own economic situation? Because they are saying, no, we want this land, we'll keep it, and we'll sell it some other day, or maybe we'll give it to our grandchildren.
The reality is that if you give people land and don't give them the skills to farm and the equipment to farm, it's likely not to work. That's why we're saying as the ANC that we give you the land. When we're not giving the land, we train you to be able to work the land. We give you resources to assist you to operate the land. That is the program. But if you give it to Malatji now, the land, we have not given the necessary skills, we have not given the necessary resources, I will not be able to. Yes, I'll send it back to the ones that have taken, because those ones that have got resources, they've been given the advantages by the injustice of the past. Now we need to give, it must be a deliberate program to fund and support those that must farm the land for food security purposes.
What's your big idea, big intervention around illegal occupation of land?
Look, the sooner we address the land issue, people they're taking the land out of frustration. Now, most of the land that is taken is not taken for agricultural processes. Most of it is taken for human settlement processes. Now, the moment we address the issue of human settlement and start to create economic corridors in different provinces, that does not force everyone to move to Gauteng or the Western Cape. Everyone will be economically actively in their own corridors, in their own provinces. You will see the issue of human settlement will be resolved. People rush to Gauteng because it's the only place where there's enough economic activities. Now, that's why, as the Youth League was speaking about economic corridors, where there must be corridors of industries, processing, there must be corridors of farming, there must be corridors of the ocean economy. Now, you must align your country and the economy on your own economic corridors. You'll see a lot of many problems of migrant workers rushing to build in areas that are even risky in most cases, where there's floods. They do that because human beings by nature are economically active. Now, if you don't give them that activity, you run a risk of them moving where there's activities, because they need to address issues of poverty in their own areas where they're from, because unemployment is not a nice thing to have. No one wants to die of poverty. Everyone fights forward for survival.
Yeah. ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji on his plans on how to revive the Youth League. The president of the African National Congress giving them a charge. They're saying it's now up to you to revive the Youth League, and he says you should be the motive forces that are going to guarantee the ANC decisive victory in 2024. Others are saying it's actually not going to happen. In fact, there are some who are predicting a decline of 50% in terms of the 2024 elections for the ANC. Others are putting together a moonshot pact with some 7 parties. They're saying this is what is going to unseat the ANC. What is the one thing that you're going to do now? Because I mean, if we look at the time, you have literally less than 12 months, if not even less than 8 months, for you to come up with this big task that the president has given you to say, become the motive force, mobilize the people around the ANC for a decisive victory in 2024.
I think in my opening I spoke about stakeholder engagements with the huge different sectors. That is the most important thing, because what we have done in the past, we've neglected other sectors. We focus mainly internally. Now, there are many youths organized in many areas who just want an ear, wants to contribute on how best they think the country can run. And I think those engagements are very urgent. The most important thing is that we must hit the ground running. We must be in all corners of the country. We must visit all villages. We must sell a manifesto, explain to everyone the good that we've done, but also speak about the challenges that we've been faced with. Because in most cases, we tend to run away from the challenges that we're faced with. Then we only speak about the good, so that everyone collectively gets involved in resolving this problem. Because the ANC created that platform. Now we must reopen that platform to allow everyone to come up with solutions to assist us to move forward, so that the ANC can continue to become a parliament of the people, and that will guarantee us our hegemony in the next elections.
People say ANC doesn't listen. People of Diepsloot, for example, have been calling for the president to come and listen to them, dealing with the situation of crime. And they've been calling for him, they are protesting, they're taking to the streets. Others are getting arrested in the presence, in the meantime, while they're waiting for the president to come and listen to them. And you're saying, well, we'll go to them and say, the ANC is here to listen to your ideas. But they've been wanting to give you ideas, but you're not there to listen to them.
Look, our structures on the ground have a responsibility to engage stakeholders on day basis. They exist for that. And in areas where stakeholders or members of the community feel that they're excluded from discussions or their issues are not resolved, it means our structures are not doing their work in those areas. Now, that's what we must correct. We must go and check if our structures are doing work in those areas to address all community problems. Not everything needs the president to come. You know, the issue of Diepsloot, the leadership of that area can be able to take charge and resolve those problems. Because can you imagine if the president will have time to go to every ward in South Africa to address all of the problems? He might not be able to do all of those things. But that's why we have leadership at that level to address all of those problems. But the ANC's character, it's a character of a listening organization. The moment is not listening, it means it's operating outside the character of what the ANC exists for.
Yeah. I brought one of your other guys here who were with you they're not with you, but they were part of the task team to come and talk to us, for example, about this challenge in education. Because part of the reason why people are not getting employed is because there is a lot of challenge within the early childhood development phase, early stages of our education, and we are not producing the kind of skilled people that will work in our economy and the challenges that we are facing. But we have, for example, a simple challenge of people, is it 40 or even higher than that? No, I'm lying. It's actually a little bit higher than that. I think it's 80%, not being able to read with understanding in any language. What are you going to do as the ANC Youth League?
I think there are good examples. I think we must also speak about the good. I'll make an example of one school called Katlong Technical High. If you go to that school, it's a high school. You'll think that you're in a university. It's part of the programs that have agreed on resolution. It would be nice to pushing the program that that school must be a mirror of all the schools in South Africa. That's why when I began to speak, I was speaking about the corridors. They said that they must be linked to that. Limpopo, it doesn't make sense why Limpopo doesn't have a lot of agriculture schools that focus only on agriculture. Because the issue is the reskilling, because people to align their skills to the economic activities. Now, the moment you don't do that, you'll have a problem. And we must take responsibility on that. And we can't always defend. We must say that we've changed the education system a lot of times, but we've produced people in the system that might not be able to respond to what the economy requires them to do. And that's the ANC is the first to acknowledge that in its resolutions, that these things must be fixed. these issues must be resolved because the skills that we're producing are not responding to economic activities. That's why Panyaza and Gauteng as a premier, he has started piloting those things. But if you go to many other areas in KZN, you'll see that it's very expensive to have such model schools because you need the private sector to play ball. Because no one asked the private sector, why not playing ball? Because if you go to a school, technical school, the private sector companies around are entering to assist the process. Now can you imagine all over South Africa, those that benefit from the labor and many other opportunities created by South Africa, they give back to the education system. They'll also benefit from the skills that they'll be producing. Now, we need everyone to say they must partner with the government, the private sector, to create the schools that reflect what the economy wants to get out of them.
Yeah. So you are saying that, for example, you would push for a policy that says let's build more technical schools. We don't have the money at this particular point. So you're saying maybe a public-private partnerships that would build specific technical schools in particular economic nodes. So if you're in Limpopo agriculture, if you are in Uteneg, it would be in the automotive space and so on and so forth.
Those resolutions are there, the programs are there. The issue is we are unable to discipline capital. You see, the issue is not that those resolutions are not there. Those resolutions are there. We go to a BMW partnership with Department of Education there in Swane. I'm saying where there is discipline, capital partners. But now, we must not give them an option, private sector. We must force them. Because the problem that we've been doing, we've been giving them an option like they're doing us a favor. No. They're the biggest beneficiaries of what they get out of the country. Yeah. Now, they need to give back. Now, the law must force them now. It must be compulsory. Yeah. That in these areas, if there is a Scoman farms doing oranges in Mabulol, there must be a school that does that thing in that area, sponsored by Scoman in partnership with the Department of Education. Now, the moment we leave them, it becomes a free-for-all. It becomes an option issue. That's why they'll end up deciding whether to invest or not, like they're doing us a favor. They're not doing us a favor. It's their responsibility to do those things.
We had them the other day, for example, around the amendments to the equity laws, and they're saying that is rubbish. You can't be legislating people or business in particular to say, no, hire these people. You can't do that. Create an environment where business thrives. And when business is thriving, they'll absorb the people, they'll bring them in. So you can't come and hammer business and say, do this, do this, do this, do this, when you are not creating an environment for them to grow.
It's the same business that is saying that when we ask them why there's high level of unemployment, it's the same ones who are saying that, no, they want to invest, they want to employ the youth, but they must reskill them because they don't have the necessary skill to assist them. Now, these resolutions are assisting the same businesses because it's part of the program of creating an environment for them to operate. Because they will be exploiting labor, importing labor from other countries when there's a labor force there in the country that must be reskilled to assist them to move forward.
Yeah. And so how do you force them? You can't force them. They'll take their money and they put it elsewhere. They say, oh, well, if that's what you want to do, we're not interested. We'll take our money and put it elsewhere. So you're saying punish or discipline them. How do you discipline them to behave in your
Now, even if you can take your money, even if you can go to the USA or wherever, you'll never find platinum there. Now, they need this platinum for it to work. They need the weather, the South African weather, for them to be able to farm and do all of those things. Now, it's not a favor. They need us. It's us enforcing it. They can't leave. If they leave, they'll starve in their own countries because they are dependent on our resources for them to live. Now, that attitude that they'll leave, it's a blackmailing, it's a lie. Because if they leave, they'll do what? In Europe, they can't do things that they can do in South Africa. They need all the soil that we have here. They need the weather we have here. They need the minerals below our soil here. Now, if they leave, they'll do what? They'll live and do what? And go and starve in Europe. They'll never leave. We must just force them. Why in other countries they're doing it? Why when they go to other countries, Botswana, whatever, they partner and do everything? Why when they come to South Africa, they're interested us about living? Then they must leave.
A lot of young people are still facing challenges when it comes to the NSFAS and getting access to institutions of higher learning. What do you think is going wrong there? What is not being done correctly?
Look, I've never agreed with the model of young people who must prove themselves how poor they are for them to access education. It can't work. What do we need to do? We need to make sure that education is free until your first degree. Now, every young person in South Africa must have a right to that process. Now, NFSAS is a process that is created to create red tape and fast-track processes. What we need to do, we need to create institutions, more institutions, whether it's online universities, more of that. whether it's building more universities, all provinces must have universities, so that everyone has got access to education as long as they qualify, they've got the requirement. TVET colleges, we need to build more TVET colleges to give them technical schools, because there's this impression that if you're from a TVET college, you are not educated enough like someone from university. I've got a BA degree. I don't see how it's assisting this economy to work, but somebody from a TVET with a mechanical diploma in the TVET, it can be able to be reused in the economy for other things. That's why I want to also mobilize on my own NEC that we must be the first to go and reskill ourselves. As a good example, I need to go as Collen, wake up in the morning, go to a skill center and say that I want to do a skill in carpentry, because so that we give an example to show that all of us, even those with degrees, we need to go back and reskill ourselves so that our skills respond to economic activities of our own country. Now, I'll lead by example very soon. I'll go and register a course in carpentry so that everyone can see that the college has got a BA.
I'll tell Mr. Swane that you're saying you're going to go register for carpentry.
Yes.
And then maybe he'll watch you a little bit closely to see if you complete that qualification.
No, I'll complete it.
All right. There are some questions that are coming in on 072-110-5584. And we'll take those questions and put them to Collen in a moment as we wrap up our conversation. Stay with us. All right, in a conversation tonight with incoming ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji, of course, elected this past weekend, and he's saying already getting ready to hit the ground running in mobilizing for the ANC come 2024 by going to those spaces where people want to engage with the party and opening up those spaces and getting in those ideas. Well, let's hear what you want to hear from him tonight. 072-110-5584. You've sent through these questions. Sipo in Midrand saying, we own land through the ANC program of Willing Buyer, Willing Seller, other land around our land, like young CDE has alluded. Indeed, the program is in place for those who cannot use the land, as they suppose the land is taken from them and given to those who could use the land for the right purposes. So saying that program is already in place, it's already been done. All right. Tekelo Ramatsetse, why should a young person join politics? Maybe they didn't hear you when you addressed this. What space is there to make a difference?
Look, there is a space. It's a platform to influence policy. It's a platform to drive the agenda in the country. Now, you can't sit back as a young person and say you're the future, but you leave a very important kratos of power. Because if you're not in politics, it means you're not legislative arms of the state. It means you've neglected your own future. You've given up, because everything is resolved there. Everything starts there. Yeah. Policies are made there. Now, young people must come and drive their own agenda within political parties, and mainly the ANC.
Yeah. I spoke to the SG of KwaZulu-Natal the other day, and I said, no, young people say this thing of Parliament being turned into an old age home has got to come to an end, right? And he says, no, young people are misled there, because you need institutional memory, and so you need the old people there. You can't completely get rid of them. So where are these young people going to come in?
No, I agree with them that you can't completely get rid of them. You need social memory. You need those with experience to remain. That's why I was saying 50% must be young people, must be compulsory as young people. Because if you erase everyone, look, for example, the experience I have now from Parliament, in Parliament for 4 years, I did not wake up and know everything. It took me a bit of time to understand some of these things. But if I did not go to Parliament, I would not have that experience. Now, the argument that young people must not come in because they're not ready is not true. You'll be ready in Parliament, because when you pair them with those that have been there for long, they'll be able to understand the institutions. Now, it's a generational issue. The next generation builds on the other, the next generation builds on the other. Ultimately, we have all of them there to try to be drivers of the state, so they understand what we must achieve as a country.
All right, let's take more questions. 072-110-5584. This is from Jerry Khosi saying, greetings, Thabo. Can you please pose a question to the ANC Youth President as follows? What youth agenda does the ANC Youth League have on the table, and what is their conceptualization of the terminology of the youth, and how does the ANC Youth League resonate with the downtrodden youth of South Africa? I suppose that last one being a very important question which you tried to address a little bit also yesterday. This idea of, especially ANC Youth League folks, maybe even others, being elite in a sense. Now you're driving big fancy cars, you've got blue lights, and want to become the position. It's all about position, wanting to be a minister or maybe in the board of the NYDA, and you become unapproachable. and young people can identify with you, especially the downtrodden.
The reality is that, Thabo, is that if you are a member of parliament like myself, automatically you are a class above an ordinary young person on the ground. That's a fact. Because you have a salary, you can afford to buy a car and a house, and it comes with those perks. But the most important thing is not to forget to mobilize those on the ground and fight for their battles and fight for their programs. Because the youth that is employed is obviously can afford certain things than those that are unemployed. That's why I was speaking about the restructuring of the economy to benefit the majority, which is the youth in majority. But it doesn't mean you're an elite. It means that you have access to the resources that you have with you. You are employed now. You're not the same as a person who's unemployed. When you're employed, you can afford, even creditors, you can afford them.
Yeah.
But when you are unemployed, you can't afford those things. Some of the cars that are saying we're driving with all banks. Every month you are paying. If I'm getting removed from parliament and I have no salary, the bank will come and take the car. Now, that doesn't mean that we are way above them. It is because of the environment that we are in that created that foundation to do that. But the reality is that it becomes wrong when we forget those that are on the ground and continue to enjoy those benefits and forget that the battle is not about us only, but it's to revive, to make sure the youth of this country are full participants in their own country.
Yeah, and how do you drive that agenda?
You drive that agenda by going to the youth, mobilizing them, and doing programs that address their own issues, like what I've mentioned in the interview.
Yeah. For example, there are challenges to affirmative action, challenges to triple BEE, which is supposed to have the trickle-down effect. Right? These are policies that the ANC has been pushing that have not been able to do exactly that, to say once these ones rise to the top, they are able to pull in the others and bring them.
What we have done well also as a Youth League, we have put the second DSG to deal with monitoring and evaluation. Our biggest problem as a movement, it is not that there's no good policies to implement. We've acknowledged the ANC that our monitoring and evaluation program, it is not intact. We deploy people into government, we put policies, but there's no systems in place to monitor if we are achieving all of those programs that we've put in place. That is where our weaknesses are. And we're strengthening it by putting people responsible for that, a research unit in the office of the president to monitor all of these issues, that all the resolutions we've taken are implemented by those who've deployed in government. The biggest problem is that those who've deployed in government, mainly in administration, tend to not implement programs as effective as they should.
Yeah. Let's take a final question there on WhatsApp. For Collen Malatji this evening. It's from Tommy in Faraday saying, what narrative is the media peddling on the ANC Youth League and EFF when Mr. Malatji was the one who said the EFF was a cult? And what is the ANC Youth League stance on what happened on the N1? Because those young people that were assaulted by the Blue Light Brigade, by the Blue Light Brigade, okay, and why haven't they issued a statement?
Look, on the N1 issue is unfortunate, and I think also the Deputy President has condemned that.
Yeah. Why do you keep saying it's unfortunate? Why is nobody saying it's criminal?
It's wrong.
It's illegal. No, it's not wrong. It's illegal. Why is it so difficult to say that?
They responded to that, and the Youth League will also speak on that issue. We'll develop a program to also go and visit these young people so we get their story on what has really happened and if they get the right counseling and support that they must get. That program will be in place. Even tomorrow we're going to support Banyana when they come, because we're always on the side of those who are oppressed. Tomorrow we'll support Banyana. We'll assist them to picket, and SAFA cannot abuse Banyana when they are the most FIFA cannot abuse Banyana when it's the most performing group of team, better than Bafana, but they're the most oppressed. Now when it comes to the issue of the cult issue, I don't want to respond to all of those issues. I think I've addressed the matter that the leader of the EFF has not moved out of the ANC because of economic freedom battle, was moved because of the disciplinary process that were publicly announced and known. What he does in his own party is his own issue. Whether he's doing cult in his party, his own issue. But in the Youth League, we're running a democratic organization.
The question of Banyana, once again, I mean, there's been a call for Denny Ordan to be removed from SAFA. Would the Youth League support that?
If he does not do the right thing, yes, he must go. We'll support everything that Banyana wants. If Banyana does not get what they want, they must get, then Julius must go.
Collen Malatji, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. That's the ANC Youth League President there, Collen Malatji. In Focus continues shortly with what's making news tonight. Stay with us.